Ujjayi, and welcome to another special broadcast of the Gate of Gates podcast. We're coming to you guys with another Initiate Illumination, particularly with the third generation of the New Jersey Temple, the Heqwabti Generation.
Yeah.
Ujjayi, everybody. This is the Heqwabti Generation.
Ujjayi.
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 Ujjayi. Ujjayi.
I mean, not everyone has to say Ujjayi. So, for those of you guys that are unfamiliar with the Initiate Illumination format, particularly the initiatic broadcast that we've been doing, because the doors of initiation are open in a few of our temples right now, particularly it should be opening globally in all of our temples, we really wanted to give people an inside look into what happens with initiation, what happens inside the temples, you know, and get a real behind the scenes experience, I should say, with initiates for real. And I would like to say it's going well. I would like to say it's illuminating for you guys. If you guys are unfamiliar with the Heqwabti Generation, you're about to be familiar in ways that you wish you weren't familiar. So prepare yourselves.
Cap.
And with
Was that a dig?
said cap. No. You guys have to talk into the mic.
Oh.
If you guys are going to talk.
Was that a dig?
Yes, it was a dig. Yeah, it was. All right, so let's start with this, right? What is the most fundamental thing that has changed in your mindset after initiating? Before I give you guys a second to answer, anybody that's on live right now and is watching, please do not hesitate to put your questions in the chat. You are more than welcome to put your questions in the chat. Please put your questions there, whatever they are. If you would like to, ask questions and find out things, now is the time to ask because you can get a real live answer on air. So with that being said, whoever wants to take it, what is the most fundamental thing that has changed in your mindset after initiating?
Kafra, before we start, I would like to acknowledge the non-material, the ancestors, all the ancestors that have carried us forward, to Nebnabal and Mosamor and Denibeg, someone who's actually fought to bring this initiation to us by asking permission to the elders and the kingships so that we have this opportunity to have this exposure. I would also like to thank everyone within the Earth Center that is working very hard to continue to push this mission forward. And I'll open the floor.
Did you want to answer the question too?
No, you guys can go first. No, go.
I'm going to introduce ourselves.
Nobody
Yes.
wants to answer.
I'll start with introducing myself. I am Zawaz Heqwabti, the third generation of New Jersey.
Zawaz is Amr. And I'm Satnith Heqwabti.
My name is Ibtehuti Heqwabti. I'm the scribe of the third gen.
I have a mic. I'm Hanista Heqwabti. I'm Ishkara Heqwabti, the financial officer.
I'm Tutanin Heqwabti.
I'm Tasipta Heqwabti.
Listen, no one knows what you guys are talking about when you guys say Mer, Scribe, and FO. So,
Can you repeat the
What
question?
changed?
ladies and gentlemen, the Heqwabti Generation. How has... Okay, so what is the most fundamental thing that has changed in your mindset after initiating?
I'll go. I would say the most fundamental thing that changed in my mindset is the aspect of community. Because prior to initiation, if I ain't want to deal with somebody, I ain't deal with them. But now that I have brothers and sisters, I don't have a choice. So, no, but seriously, it just taught me to learn how to work with people, even when you don't feel like working with people. And it builds character. It definitely does. It builds your patience. It builds your tolerance. It builds your ability to learn how to actually function as a person within not just like this school or this initiation, but in society, and learn how to have more patience with other people.
For me, I think the fundamental thing that's changed is the aspect of family. I think my understanding of family has grown a lot stronger. I think the way that we understand family in the modern society is very skewed, and a lot of times we think we're better off without our family, or we know better, and that's kind of just like a fundamental misunderstanding of what family really is. So just the understanding of family, what a spiritual family is, and how I can bring those aspects to my family and my children, that has been the fundamental difference for me.
So just to kind of delve a little bit deeper into what you just said, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there that are like, what do you mean? What happened to your family? You know what I'm saying? Because it kind of sounds like you've maybe abandoned your family, or maybe it's like you've walked away from your family,
no,
or
I've grown
anything like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've grown, like, I've even have like a stronger connection. I didn't necessarily abandon my family. But I wouldn't say the ties I had with my family were as strong as they are now. The connection I have with my mother, the connection I have with my father, I just have, I guess you could say, more of an appreciation and understanding. And I think that any sort of resentment that maybe I may have felt in terms of my upbringing, I know a lot of people may feel that at times. I don't necessarily feel that way anymore. And also, like, I have a child now. So for me, I understand a little bit more, just a little bit more of what my parents may have gone through and the sacrifices that they made for me.
But how would that connect particularly to initiation? Because that sounds like just the experience everyone kind of has in terms of learning how to be a parent or starting a family. It just, you kind of realize all the crap you kind of gave your parents based on the way sometimes you see your children kind of going. So how would you tie that to initiation per se?
No, he asking you. You're the one that asked the right question.
Well,
Looks
I
like your
think
best friend's gonna help you out.
sometimes, but for me, when we talk about family, the difference between having this community and being in the world, or engaging in what the, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like a cult, but normal society
It's a
does,
cult.
is that we are all working towards a goal, and knowing that goal, it keeps us on track. It keeps us knowing where we are and who we are, and how we are like functioning. So that's why I think that's important to know that, because we're working towards a goal to better our qualities, to evolve, as human beings. So.
Yeah, I just had to think about it for a minute, but I agree with what my best friend Satni said. But also, like, family is really about, like, we learn in the initiation, it's like the traditions, the values, the taboos, and being on like a very specific.
What the hell does that mean? Y'all just can't be dropping stuff and then think people out there understand you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like about spirituality, like spirituality in like the way that we think about spirituality in the West. It's very loose, but the understanding that we have gotten through the initiation is that spirituality is actually very rigid. So with that rigidity comes certain taboos, it comes certain things that you can and cannot do. So those are really like the taboos, the traditions, and the values.
Like what kind of things?
Oh my God.
What kind of things can you not do?
All right.
Let me answer the question.
Go ahead.
So, okay, your approach to your life and spirituality is fundamentally changed. Your mentality about it. So, you typically start off here in the West with like an emotional approach, like you do what you want to do with your life. You base your spirituality on how you feel. You may like this flavor one day, that flavor another day. You might mix and match. You might try to feel your way into like healing people and, you know, call it all kinds of stuff. Channel crystals, put crystals out under the moon, all this stuff. So the difference is that after initiation, you get that fundamental knowledge that no, there's a technicality to things. Spirituality is actually technical, and no, you can't just do what you want, and you can try, but if that is technically not within your specialty to do, like with the concept of bloodlines and what you came here to do, what's your specialty, then you can try it for as long as you want, but you may find a little bit of success, but it might not be as successful as if you actually doing the thing that comes with you, like that specialty that comes with you. So fundamentally, that's what's changed, that's what's different. And so when we talk about things you can do and you cannot do, it's really based on on a personal level, is based on like your bloodline and you knowing what that is, which is giving you a sense of knowing who you are. And then when it comes to like generally, it's really about being rigid in terms of us having a goal and what that goal is. And why are you telling me to wrap it up?
Because you're rambling. We're telling you to wrap it up because you're rambling. Since
What's
you
the
asked.
next question? Next question.
Please pardon our producers. You know, we're
Okay, so
I can't wait.
the next question is, when did you truly start to embody the work?
I would say it's still an ongoing process. I mean, this work is so deep, so vast, and when I think I've learned something, I realize I didn't quite learn it yet, and there's more to grasp, more to embody, and more to apply. But initiation really is about embodying what you learn, applying what you learn. And at first, it was for me, I was like trying to study it. Like, oh, this sounds good. I think I understand what that means, but I wasn't living it. So it's really a lifelong process at this point, especially coming from the West, being born in America, to have to let go of so many things to really embody what this initiation entails. So it just takes sacrifice, hard work, and some time.
Yeah, and if I may add to that, I would say I think one of the biggest challenges I faced coming into this work is becoming aware of how much attachments I have. And that's really been the biggest problem, is in order for you to embody this work, it's about letting go of your attachments. Because a lot of the things that we find ourselves in this world, we are very identified to, and we try to carry that identity and try to live through those identities. But kind of like even to the question that was presented before, family is even where you get your identity. You're not someone that's separate from your family. But because you live in a system where everything that you've been exposed to has given you a different identity that has pulled you away from that, it becomes very difficult for you to look at your family as yourself. It becomes very difficult for you to even honor the things like your ancestors. Because family is even that area where life comes through that channel. That's even where you have the connection to the source of things. So to answer the question of like, when did you start embodying this? I would say for me, it's as I've learned to break certain deep attachments that has allowed me to gain certain footing within the culture.
I think embodying it is like a daily process. For me, it's something that I would say I struggle with. You know, the society that we live in wants to take you in one direction, and then, you know, this initiation and this work wants to take you in a completely different direction. And trying to step out of society is, it sounds really cool, but it's not such an easy process, you know, especially, you know, we live here in Jersey, in New York, we have to pay bills, we have to pay rent, we have to pay for the car, things like that. That's still very real for us, you know, even though, you know, the whole idea is to leave here. Really, it's not really we're not really meant to be here, to be in the West necessarily. But yet we're still in the West fighting this struggle. So, yeah. It's still very real. It's still very real.
I agree with what you guys are saying, and also I just wanted to kind of go off of what Tutanen was saying, because
just lean forward for us because they can't see you on Instagram.
Okay.
It just
Can you
looks
see me
like
now?
feet are talking.
Okay. So I just am agreeing a lot with what Tutanen was saying, how he's like always kind of, you know, still trying to embody what this is. But initiation is really about, like, you know, evolving and progressing. So you may think you're at a certain point and you've got it, but you don't. Like, you just have to keep going, and it's really about the evolution.
So, Hedista, were you going to say something, or you look like you were?
I mean, I could, but I feel like we should go to the next question.
It's okay. So then, our most loyal viewer, Matthew Ruta. Shout out Matthew Ruta.
Shout out to Matthew.
Matthew Ruta has some questions.
Loyal.
I know, yeah, right. He even gave us a nickname for the viewers. He said the viewers should be called GOGers. So shout out to Matthew. Or Goggers or something. Yeah, I think Gogs.
Goggers.
Something. Goggers. But Matthew Ruta is asking, does maintaining relationships after initiation mean not holding people accountable? Or is it just constant forgiveness?
So yeah.
Does maintaining relationships after initiation mean not holding people accountable? Or is it just constant forgiveness?
The mic beside me.
Yeah. Satnif, care to chime in?
Forgiveness is for suckers.
Oh.
You just, I mean, if you love the people that you care about, like you say you do, I mean, either way, if they love you, they're gonna stick by you and hear the cold truth about the situation. But forgiveness is not an option. You have to hold people accountable, and that's what makes it difficult for initiates to maneuver. The initiation never ends. It's a lifelong process. So as far as having friends, people don't like to hear the truth. So you're gonna lose friends. Your family, you know, they're gonna boot you out of social events and things like that. But as long as you know that you're working towards a goal, a real goal that will benefit the whole humanity, by starting with yourself, by holding other people accountable, then, you know, it's worth it. It's worth just like speaking your truth and, you know, and standing on it.
And just to add to that as well, especially when it comes to family, you know, like my father is my father, my mother is my mother, like my cousin is my cousin. I can't really change that. So there's also the understanding of, like, I'm their son. So I'm not going to be able to say, like, Dad, you need to figure this out or else. It's like, no, okay, who are you? Okay, I am of you. We're like, one of the same in a sense. So also that humility to understand that, like, I can't impose on my father or my grandfather or my grandmother, like, I'm right and you're wrong, but still understand that I'm still carrying the torch forward. And so let me do better in my life so that so that things can keep progressing in the next generation.
I just wanted to add that it's really about like meeting people where they're at. It's about meeting people where they're at.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, the initiation itself will give you so many tools because even Parank is the name of like the first stage of the initiation, which really means house of life. So it's a series of a lot of knowledge and tools that ancestors have lived by. Humanity has lived by, has been tested through time, through generations, and has been proven to work. So essentially, it's like life lessons that you're even receiving, and it just really gives you a certain edge where you're like more intelligent about how you approach situations, where you don't just become so rigid in one direction, but you learn to apply the dynamism of certain situations. You learn to see things through not just a causal effect, but more so like a sequential, because everything is connected.
No one understands what you're saying.
It's not isolated in one area, or it's not existing within a vacuum. Things are connected. Things are a result of combined circumstances, and really opens you up to seeing the bigger picture and how it teaches you that every action that you produce within your life not only affects you, but it affects not just your community, but even the whole world. So it puts you in that position where you have to operate intelligently, where you have to think, and you have to think very clearly before you act.
So there's some questions that were dropped specifically for people. So, yes, specifically for specific people.
Is this a new thing?
I don't know. I did not submit these questions. So, for Hanista, how have you been able to prioritize your time as an initiate throughout your pregnancy / giving birth?
Who asked that? How do they know I was pregnant?
I don't know. These were from the younger generation.
Okay.
No need to get paranoid. Yeah.
Who's stalking me? No, that actually is very difficult, but it's not impossible. Because when you're pregnant, they say in the culture, like, that's an initiation in itself. So you're being tested while being tested. Because the initiation itself will test you. Pregnancy will test you. So if anything, I think it just makes you stronger. But the question was, how did I prioritize it?
The question was, hold on, how have you been able to prioritize your time as an initiate throughout your pregnancy and giving birth?
Pregnancy wasn't hard. I think once the baby is here, that's when the real test comes, because, it's a whole nother human you have to take care of while trying to do other things. When you're pregnant, it's still just you, unless you have other kids. But I think it's just shown me, like, really what pushes me to keep going is showing me, like, why I came here in the first place. Because I do want my son to have the proper education and to be surrounded around, like, the people that can influence him in this crazy world to pick, like, a better path. So if anything, it's never going to be easy to prioritize, but if you really want it, then you're going to find a way. And you just got to do it.
Baraka.
You can answer that too.
That was your son. So I'm curious to hear Tasipta's take on this answer, or this question, I should say.
That's your son outside.
Yeah, so I felt like initiation was hard, and then I had a baby. And now I look back and I'm like, well, that's like, like, how did I not get like everything done? Like, and just looking back to see myself as like a person before my son. It's just like interesting. And I just have one child, so, but I think it's a test that's like given to specific people, you know, like motherhood is like, it is like she was saying, it is like an initiation itself. And we're given things that we can handle, you know? So I think also in our Western society, pregnancy and like being a mother is like looked down upon in a way, or it's seen as like something difficult that you don't want. And so I think there was kind of like a fear instilled in people that like being a parent or being a mother is like, you know, it's going to take away from everything. But I think it's actually helped me flourish more in initiation.
So there's a question here, and let's give it to Ishkara, and then whoever else feels inclined can chime in. What do you think about your Kemetic name, and how well do you think it aligns with your understanding of yourself before graduation? And did you have any surprises in learning your name?
She loved that name.
I love it.
Well,
First, can you give us the meaning of your name?
I'm way ahead of you.
Okay, perfect.
You think you're not gonna get fired?
Are you gonna pull out your name reader?
After all. So being the seat of the spirit of the great god Ra.
Oh my God.
Why did you say it in a British accent?
I don't know. I didn't even realize I was doing that. Britain. No, we can't say that. No. No, I like my name. When I first heard it, on that day of graduation, it just like, it sit. Like, I felt it sit, like, right in my heart. And it was like it was a weight on me. What was the rest of the question?
How much do you think it aligns with your understanding of yourself before graduation?
Well, I can't say that I fully understand my name, but from what I understand of the god Ra, so far, I definitely think it aligns with me, and because I just have to be great at everything, and the best, and the first, and that's just me, and
You're gonna put that on your name?
I've come to accept it.
You're just gonna say that your name makes you be the best at everything?
No, I'm not saying that that's what my name makes me. I'm probably somewhere in my destiny, that's what like I have to ascribe to, like, try to live up to. But I can see that why that is like on me, because that is typically like kind of always in the back of my mind.
So I guess the answer to this latter part of the question, in terms of any surprises in learning your name, would be no. Because it seems you already were patting yourself on the back, eh?
Yeah, I was impressed with the name. Yeah.
Thank you, Ishkara. Anybody else want to answer this question?
I'd like to answer that question. My name is Ibn Tahuti, which is the heart of Tahuti. And Tahuti was our great teacher. And for me, I think
Well, can you give people context in terms of who the Greek version of Tahuti would be for people?
The Greek version of Tahuti?
Yeah, the Greek name for Tahuti.
Thoth?
Something like that.
Thoth?
Wasn't it golf?
Thoth?
Yeah.
Thoth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think For me, I think I
Hermes.
always ran away from wanting to teach. I think that I always thought that like teaching was for people that couldn't like do it, or like couldn't like for instance, like a music teacher was just like a failed artist. That's how I always thought about teachers in general. So I always kind of ran away from wanting to teach. I was even like an English major in college, and like that's kind of like the succession of things, like, oh, and then you become a teacher. But I didn't want that. And so I think it was really interesting that that has become my name, and it's also like the heart of Tehuti, which makes me feel like the potential of a teacher. Like I have that potential within me, and I think I've always had that. So it's really, for me, my name and my journey with that name is really figuring out what that really means and how far that potential for me will go in this lifetime. Still have a lot to figure out.
Yeah, that's for sure. No, not you. I mean, just in
Yeah.
general.
So I was about to ask this question, but we'll save that for later. It was from one of the viewers. It was, what word do you say at the end of the ablutions when you turn your head left, center, and right? Is it capra? And what does it mean?
This is from one of
Yeah, that's from one of the viewers.
the viewers, or
Yeah, it's from one of the
initiates here?
viewers. No, an initiate would not be asking this question.
So how do they know this?
I'm assuming maybe the Book of Purifications, perhaps. I don't know.
I'm
But
just curious.
can you guys give some clarity to this viewer, please? Don't laugh at their question.
Sorry.
it's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good
It
question.
is. I was just wondering, how do they know?
It's kafra. Kafra, like Ra. R-A. Which means it's on the right, isn't it on the right side of Ra?
On the side of Ra.
On the side of Ra. Kafra.
So shout out to the person that asked that question, Tina Patch. We appreciate you for being a viewer. And then the next question we have from one of the younger initiates posed the question was, this is a big one. What factors prevented you from being on the same page in the beginning of initiation that changed in the end? How did you change them? Ibtahuti, care to chime in?
Can you repeat the question?
What factors prevented you from being on the same page in the beginning of initiation that changed in the end? How did you change them?
There is no end. I mean, I think we're still working on it. I think we're all a process as a generation. I think that if we hadn't been in this initiation and we had seen each other on the streets, probably would have walked past each other. But for some reason, we... maybe not us, but we were all brought together for a reason. Like we even learned in the initiation that like our ancestors made an agreement with each other, and that we were all brought here together for a specific purpose, for a goal. And it's something that maybe we don't even fully yet understand why it is that we are a generation, or why it is that we are the Heqwabtis, but it's something that ultimately, like, in this lifetime, we are hoping to figure out. And we've been on this journey for about 2 years together. And to say that we are a finished product, to say that we've reached the end or the goal, you know, it's a process.
Would you guys say that you have reached a point where you guys are on the same page?
I think it's one of those situations where it's one of those situations where, you know, we're even as individuals, we're still constantly changing and growing and still learning ourselves, let alone one another. So in that process, you know, there are moments where we like, okay, I think we got it now, and then things change. Life's always changing. Things are always changing. So we always have new circumstances to adapt to. So I mean, like Heqwabti said, it's a process. We're still learning as a family. Like every family, you have challenges. You have, you know, interpersonal things, but you work through that for a bigger goal. So I think as we grow into initiation, as we learn more about ourselves, as we learn our names more, we're getting a better grasp of it. But it's, you know, it's a challenge. It's a fight.
I wanna try this question too. So when we talk about the same, we're on the same page. We have our differences, but we all are in this mission. We all are still walking on the same path and trying to reach the same goal. So to me, that makes us on the same page. We each one of us, we're individuals. And I think the hardest part about us like getting on the same page was, and in the beginning, was honesty with ourselves, and even like not knowing even like what everything was about. So the more we became honest with ourselves and honest with each other, that was like a big thing, that we had to like begin to be honest with ourselves, honest with each other, expose ourselves, show who we really are, and then continue just to walk this path, because nobody is perfect. We wouldn't be here if we were perfect. We wouldn't even have to like be doing this mission if we were perfect. So the fact that we are all trying to reach the same goal, working on each one of us are working on ourselves, and we can, you know, vouch for each other that we honestly are working on ourselves. That's what it's about. Working on yourself to be a change in the world. It starts with yourself. So to say that we each one of us have taken that vow to work on ourselves, then that makes us on the same page. Whether we like each other, whether we fight each other, whether we have good days, bad days, we are still on this mission with the same goal.
And just to go back to the first question about what helped us to come together more, I feel like there are two things. One is focusing on the work. Like I know, like for our graduation, for example, when we came together to work for our graduation, we were focused. Okay, this is our goal. We're going to cross this threshold together. Whatever it takes, we're going to make it happen. Whatever sacrifice it comes our way, we're going to make it happen. And that really shows our potential to rise to the occasion when we're focused on the goal. And that's always, you know, so now we know that's our bar, and now let's go beyond that next time. And the communication is so important. Like being able to be, like you said, honesty is so important. And honesty is something that in this system is not rewarded. You know, we're always taught to lie, put on the face, or like, you know, exaggerate things or whatever it is. And you know how it is. So yeah, it's the honesty and communication is so essential.
So there's some questions that are now coming in the chat from one of the people operating the computer, but we'll get to that one very soon. There's a good question here that I think is asked by someone that could possibly be a CIA agent, and it was, what were your motivations to join the initiation in the beginning, and what were the factors that made you stay till the end? What were your motivations to join initiation in the beginning, and what were the factors that made you stay till the end?
First of all, I didn't even know this was an initiation. I'm gonna start there. I downloaded the calendar app. I bought a book. I called the Earth Center. They was like, oh, we teach classes the next day at 9 a.m. I was like, okay, I'll be there. I get there.
How far did you travel?
Cool.
How far did you travel? Because how far you traveled matters.
Yeah, well, I lived in Long Island. The temple was in Newark at the time, so it took me like
New Jersey.
Newark, New Jersey. It took me like 2.5 hours to get there, bus and train and cab.
How many times a week?
Once a week. But, you know, after, it was more after I started getting involved in the temple. But anyway, I didn't know it was an initiation. But what made me actually stay was the fact that the teacher that I had, shout out to Jezreepta, She broke things down in a way where I realized I ain't no shit. And I was like, damn, I need to start from square one and allow this woman to teach me from, you know, what she's been taught, the right way to go about, you know, life. Like literally life, like how to live my life the correct way, because obviously the way I was living it was a little bit twisted, you know. I was learning from the system. All I knew was the system. So that's what made me stay. And also the aspect the aspect of having like a bunch of people. When we first started, it was like 16 people that were all like-minded. You get to share ideas and things that you don't really get to speak about every day with people out in the world, because they'll probably look at you like you have 10 heads, right? But to connect with like minds, that's also what made me stay. And that's why I'm still here.
You gonna say something, or? I mean, it's okay. So then there's another question we have from Tina Patch.
That's a good
He said
question. That's a
he
good
wants to
question,
answer
though.
the question.
Do you guys want to go ahead?
Yeah, I
answer
think
the question.
everyone has their own story when it comes to how
But
they
you guys all
started
look at me like
initiation.
deer in headlights. So I'm like, do you want me to move to the next one, or one of you want
Go
to speak?
ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Tesipta, my wife, she started initiation first. And,
Without you.
Yeah, she started without me. She started initiation, and this was during lockdown. We were living in
Yeah, it was during COVID.
Yeah, during
at
COVID.
that.
We were in Flatbush, Brooklyn, so we were about like an hour and a half away from the Newark Temple at the time. And she started initiation before me, and she would come home and she would tell me about all these concepts and all of these things, and it kind of just like went completely over my head. And it was an interesting period of time for me too, because like we had been in lockdown for a period of time, so we were always together and everything, and then suddenly, during COVID, banging the pots and pans and all that, and suddenly.
Oh, you were one of those people that was outside banging the pots and pans for healthcare workers? You're going to glaze over them?
Yeah, so basically...
The what?
Yeah, this was like the first time that I had to like deal with like being alone or being by myself for like a long period of time, and I really had to like start to deal with myself. And later in the initiation, I learned like you can't like grow in a room by yourself. Like you need other people in order to evolve. You need people as your mirrors. Like these are all like our generations. Like these are all our mirrors, or my mirrors. So I think it was around like the 4th or 5th week, and Tesipta was like, I think you should come to the temple. And I was like, okay.
The doors were about to close.
Yeah,
too.
I had no idea. Yeah,
Actually,
so I
they
came.
were closed.
So she's like, why don't you come to class?
And
I was like,
are you
okay.
mad that
Huh?
that we let Ibtuti in? You said that the doors were
No. Instigator, interviewer.
She's here to terrorize. She's here to terrorize.
I have no agenda here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He
Right.
didn't even share his cake.
Yeah.
You guys are
He's
on
eating
air.
cake off camera, by the way, and he's got
baked
a gallon of milk in front of him. Just so you know.
They're just mad because they're
Just so
on
the heat
camera.
isn't on.
See, now you guys are getting a taste for the real Heqwabtis.
Welcome.
Not the buttoned up version they've been trying to give you guys for the past 45 minutes.
Keep it 100. But so I came to the temple, and I sat in on class, and that was when they picked the officers the first time. They voted for the officers, and you guys were reading your papers. I remember that. And then Jesuit barbarism paper. Abigail. Hey. So that's funny. Where was I? Oh yeah. So and then Jesuit was like, the doors of initiation are closing. And then I remember I was in the kitchen after one of the classes, and Bazati was like, so you started initiation? And I was like, I don't know. Like, what is that all about, I only got like a little taste of it, but when I was in the class the one time, it was certain things were starting to resonate with me. Certain things, I started asking myself specific questions that I had never asked myself before during lockdown, especially just like, why is this happening? Like, what is this COVID? What is really going on? What is the agenda? And those questions kind of started to lead me down this path of asking more questions. And then, something in the class, I can't really remember what it was, but it really hit for me. And surely, not long after, I started an initiation. I think the thing that kept me in the initiation was definitely my generational members at the end of the day. We all come from very drastically different paths in life. You know what I mean? But like we said before, the goal that we have is the same at the end of the day. And I think that's what really kept me in there. Also my partner as well really helped me stick it out, and I'm very grateful for it. Yeah.
Aww.
I'm not his partner. She's his partner.
I don't think anyone was sitting here thinking it was you, Sudney.
You
It's
going,
okay.
Sudney?
Yeah.
You're not going? Okay, let me answer. So I've been on this evolutionary path for a while, first with Christianity, then I started practicing Judaism, I was wearing the tassels, and then I went into Hinduism. I know, they're for men.
Sorry.
I know, I realized that after. But hey, that's me, just throw myself in there. So, but yeah, just asking a lot of questions about things I couldn't see, and then the things that I was seeing that wasn't tangible, material, trying to understand what that was, and trying to form a relationship or a skill where I could recall that on demand. So essentially, I always just wanted to be to learn how to be immortal, and yeah.
Whoa, that got... Yeah, that... you wanted to live forever?
No, not immortal in that sense of living like this forever, but no matter what state I'm in, being able to experience, knowing how to experience communication between both worlds. So while I'm here, having that experience with the unseen world, and while I'm in the unseen world, having that experience communicating here. I always wanted to kind of learn how to do that, and that's immortality to me.
So you wanted to be a god?
To not forget.
Actually, that's not too far from it. Yeah. So,
I feel like all of us thought that at one point, on some level.
Hence comes the name Ishkara.
So yeah, so that's
This explains so much about your generation.
What?
That you guys all have wanted at some point in your lives. This is prior to initiation.
Yeah.
Y'all wanted to be gods.
That's common though.
That's
common.
Yeah,
That's
I think I was a goddess in my previous life.
Yeah.
I am a god. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Keep going, Ishkara.
Oh, keep going. Yeah, so what made me stay is pretty much that goal. I ain't stay for none of y'all. I ain't stay for anything else. It was pretty much
To become a god.
Yeah, it was that goal. I mean, I gained some great peeps along the way, great family, but that's still my goal, I want to be immortal.
Ishkata brought up a great point though. She was talking about her trajectory before the initiation. I think it's important. For me personally, I was raised Jewish. That's my family's origin. But I also delved into a lot of other different spiritual practices. I was really into Kabbalah at a certain point. I was into the tarot and the New Age spirituality and stuff like that. I think that the more I personally looked into it, the more I saw the faults in it. The more I saw just the hypocrisy of things, and the more I realized I was really searching for an origin, and that led me here.
We good.
And just to add on, for me, like this is like the one thing that actually made sense to my mind. Like I looked into like a lot of different paths, Christianity growing up. Read a lot of books, Eastern philosophy, looking into like shamanism, psychedelics, all types of this whatever I could find, and nothing quite added up all the way. So it was really when I started looking into like the books from Master Naba, Philosophy Podium, Initiatic Tales, the lectures, all that kind of stuff, where like, oh, this actually makes practical sense. It's very like, it's in my face. But it was so much depth to the simplicity that I had to keep looking and keep going. So there really wasn't a choice for me, because like I had asked for the truth and I kind of started to find it through this. So even to this day, like I'm still looking for that truth and finding it more in this. So why would I leave? It's one of those situations, to put it simply, yeah.
So I'm going to direct this question towards Satneeth. And the question is, what would you say is this question is worded in a very ridiculous way. I'm going to rephrase it. It's, what would you say is the biggest risk, or what is the thing that people are at most risk at encountering to not make it through to graduation?
What are they most at risk?
What would you say is the thing that's most likely at risk for you to face going through initiation in Parank to not make it to graduation?
I'd say not wanting to face yourself, because that's basically, at the end of the day, that's who the initiation is about. It's about changing yourself. And a lot of people, I know a lot of my demons, I still, fight, demons, quote unquote, but it's just ourselves. We have to get past ourselves, our attachments and things like that.
I just imagined you when you said you're fighting demons. I was just imagining you out there like Blade, like out there fighting vampires or something like that. But thank you for
That's what she do.
thank you for clarifying.
That's not me.
Yeah. So, how about this? What is? Well, actually, let me go to this question that came from Tina Patch. Did any of you have an encounter with any of your ancestors during initiation? If so, what was that experience like? I knew you were gonna go for this question, Tasipta.
Okay, so I had a chance to go to, we call it Merita, but it's Africa, for a trip last year, and there's something that they do in the tradition that's been done. It's a ceremony that's been done for thousands of years. It's even on like old, what do they call it?
Lean forward for the people on Instagram.
Papyrus or whatever the scrolls or whatever.
Papyrus.
It's in like the Book of the Dead, like talking about like an opening of the mouth. So in the tradition, when they do that, it's they can elevate one of your ancestors. And basically, there is a priest who they've trained themselves to be able to basically be able to have that ancestor speak through them and take over their body, essentially. And so when I was in Merita, I had the privilege to be able to elevate my great-grandmother. And it was a really interesting experience because I only had met this person who is deceased when I was like a baby. I was very young. But I know like the personalities in my family and what she is known for. And the things that she like spoke to me just like made this all become like very real. And she also happens to be like my reincarnation. So it was something I kind of like had to wrap my head around for like, it took me a while to wrap my head around the experience. But it was very, very surreal to experience that. But that's even something that happens like, you know, in the traditions, they're very close with like that realm there. That's like, those traditions are still very much alive. So that's like every day to people there. But that's probably like one of the most profound experiences I've had with like an ancestor.
Does anybody else want to take that question? Because last time I moved on from a question, you guys all got mad at me. Does anyone else want to answer that question, or I can move to another question?
No?
So this question is for whoever is going to answer it. Is online classes as effective as physical classes?
Is online classes as effective as
Physical
classes?
physical classes.
I'm going to be very careful and honest about how I express what I'm going to say. We live in a time where there's so much going on in people's lives that it really depends on the goal or the outcome that you're looking for yourself. It's not to say that the online experience will not teach you what you need, will not give you the things that you need, but it's very different than you actually being in a physical school, a physical temple, where you get a chance to be exposed to the work, the day-to-day work that goes on within a temple, the exposure of having to take care of a temple, the challenges that come within that. It's not something that you can get through a screen, sitting, in your homes. But the knowledge is so vast that it finds a way for anyone that is seeking it truthfully and honestly to reach you, no matter what medium that you're using. But personally speaking, I haven't taken the online initiation. I've been in a physical temple, and I've had also the opportunity to travel to a few of the other temples, and it just does not give you the fullness of the experience that you can get when you're in front of an exposure like that. So it really is up to you as a spirit, as an initiate, what you want to get out of what it is that you're going for. But honestly, I would say that you having the exposure is the biggest aspect of initiation. You giving yourself the time to be as involved as possible within every facet of your life, that is what will give you the benefit that you're looking for. Because you have to understand that this is a culture that we're being exposed to that we don't understand. I'm from Africa. I grew up in Africa. I was born in Africa. But this is still not the culture I understand, because so much has degenerated over time. So much has been lost over time due to colonization, due to many things, just human degeneration in many words, that we've lost so much, that to actually get an opportunity to meet a culture that has preserved things to such a degree, you can only gain the benefit if you're fully submerging yourself in the experience. That's what I can share from my own experience.
When I want to answer. When you say that word, the effectiveness, when you talk about the effectiveness of something, it really comes down to how you take what you're given and how you apply it to yourself and you apply it to your life and to your experiences. So whether the knowledge is transmitted face-to-face or online, it's really up to you personally how you're going to take that knowledge and run with it. If you're going to hold it with both hands or if you're not. There are people who attend temple, who have initiation at temples, and they're like, they're still grasping or working to grasp a lot of the material that even people who have the initiation online are able to grasp. It's just because of the mindset and the commitment that they have to applying what they've been given. So that when you say effectiveness, that's really what it depends on, how you're able to empty your plate, what you have, what you come with already, the preconceptions and the monuments that you hold.
Like
and how
being
you're
a god.
Huh?
Like being a god.
Where's the bomb drop?
I know I'm not gonna live this down.
Being like the gods.
Being like the gods. Just taking that and running with it. So that's really, when you talk about effectiveness, that's what it is. When you think about the original form of the initiation camps, traditionally it is physically in Merita. A certain age, you're exposed to the culture. I mean, that's where it started. You gotta expect that it's gonna be a certain way based on the time and space that is happening, right? But with everything, life is evolving, the existence is evolving, and so the knowledge still has to be disseminated and shared to humanity in whatever way or form that is good at the time, or whatever avenue that's made at the time. So I would say that.
Yeah, Ishkata makes a good point. I think there is value in the online, in that it reaches places in the world that don't necessarily have temples. So that aspect of it is good. I think it's like Ishkata is saying, though, it is really a personal journey. For my family personally, we were living in Brooklyn at the time. We realized the value of being closer to a temple, and we made the move, and we moved to Jersey. And for everybody, it's going to be different. It really is about how you value it, how you take it, just like you were saying. At the end of the day, it's just different. Being at a temple, there are things that you'll even learn that just happen, like even just entering a temple. So for me personally, like, it was important for me to be in a place where people could see my blind spots, and people could tell me the things that maybe I didn't even know about myself, or the things that I didn't even see. Because even in the initiation, you learn that the bullet that kills you is the one that you don't see coming. So when you think everything is all right, that could be the moment when it's not anymore. And so that is something that I personally valued. To say that I would get that in the online, maybe not, but for me personally, this is just what works for me.
I just want to say that either way, online or if you are at a temple, this is like Initiation 101. This is not, what you would really, the full initiation that you would get into in Merita, or as the Western call it, Africa. This is a version so that we can comprehend, so that because of the way that we function, the way that society has molded us, this is nothing compared to what the indigenous people get. We are just getting and we can't even, our brains can't even hold this. So, either way, they make this initiation, I call it Initiation 101, because they've done it in a way so that we can grasp what they're trying to give us.
So that question was from Warrior Zul Bukande. We appreciate you, Warrior Zul Bukande. I think that's Chem Warrior under a new name, but nonetheless, we appreciate your question. There's a question here that was given by one of our viewers by the name of Kenny Bashu. And the question was, who in your generation has brought the most truth out of you?
That's a good question.
I'll go.
It is a good question that none of you guys are answering.
Patience,
No, I said I'll go.
patience.
I think the person who brought out the most truth in our generation is Satnith. And I'll say that because she has she has no fear when it comes to like conflict, as well as, you know, bringing us back together again. So she's like the mother of our generation also. She got 6 kids, so, you know, I feel like
just
she has
putting her
no.
out there, yeah.
I'm not saying that to put you out there, but I'm saying just to say, like, you have a certain amount of wisdom that
She doesn't
none
look
of
like
us
she's
have.
had 6 kids, and gentlemen,
Exactly.
if you're wondering, yes.
No, it's a no. We not putting her out here like that. Hell no.
No, we're not putting her out there. We're just saying, you know, she doesn't look
Okay.
like she's popped out 6.
Anyways, so
Yes,
I
you
cannot.
were thinking it,
God
and
damn
I'm
it.
here to let y'all know.
Yeah, but I'm gonna give you that credit because I feel like this is what our teacher, Tutipsa, also brought up, that you have like a certain ethic that's instilled in you, and you taught us a lot throughout the initiation that we were obviously missing, as far as honesty and as far as like knowing how to actually function as a family and what that looks like. So
She's still doing it.
To this day.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just to go off of that, conflict is really like a part of the whole process. Like, if there isn't any conflict, then there's like dishonesty going on. You know, so to have that conflict within a generation, like I said, like we all come from different places, different walks of life and all of that, you know, so we all come with all these different things, different opinions and ways of thinking about the world or ways of thinking of each other. So it was, you know, it's like I said, it's a process. Like, we've had times as a generation where we've been a lot closer, and then conflict happens, and then we come together again, and it just kind of like ebbs and flows at the end of the day. But it's a really important aspect of the initiation. So for, you know, generations in the future, you know, just so you know, it's important.
I definitely think Satni brings like the truth out, like in the generation. I want to bring it a little personal to me, because I think the one person, if I were to name one person in the generation that brought out the honesty or the truth of me personally, I would say it's Ibtahudi.
oh,
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
She was gonna say that.
Yo,
Wow.
this got me so emotional.
What was it? What was it about Ibtahudi that?
I don't know.
That
It was
brought it
just
up.
like
It was that one class.
It
You know
was
what
just
class
that-
we talking
It
about?
was that, like,
I
it's
know,
the
I was there.
comments, it's the back, the side comments, the back talk, like.
The back talk?
Yeah, like, who you think you are? Like, yeah, it brought out a lot of, like, honesty in me, just in terms of, like, just cleaning my emotions. Like, yeah, for real. If I had to be, like, candid.
Ibtahudi, would you like to say who brought out the most truth in you?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say it's Ishkara as well. I think that's honest. I think, you know, like I was saying, we all came with our own like preconceived notions of things. Like, you know, when I came into this, like, you know, I'm white, and coming into you know, this like very like you know, West African spirituality.
None of us realized you were white.
No, you know, because I'm a little tan. I'm looking a little Italian. I'm looking a little. You know,
What were you saying?
Puerto Rican.
Negative.
No one thought you were Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of peanut gallery talk in the back, but anyways, the point being, like, you know, like I would say, like, I came in here with like a certain amount of respect, or but really, like, it was almost like dishonesty, because I couldn't necessarily, at the beginning of initiation, I felt like I couldn't necessarily be myself, because I didn't want to overstep or anything. Like, I wanted to make sure, like, my lane was clean, I was being respectful, I didn't really know what was going on and all that. But at the end of the day, it's like what I found is like my family like respects me like for who I am, and they'll check me, that's for sure. But like I need to like at the end of the day be myself and like be honest with myself, no matter like what it is that I'm a part of, like in this spiritual practice. Like, because at the end of the day, it's like we're all here for our ancestors. At the end of the day.
Bars. This reminds me of like one of those like reality TV show like reunions, where like everyone sits around and kind of talks about like how the show.
The harmonizer of the generation, everybody.
This is the politician of the group, if you haven't realized it by now. Tutanen is the guy that you send in when you're trying to negotiate.
Yes. Correct.
It's Tutanen.
Correct. That is Tutanen.
I feel like Tutanen could sell like hair to a bald woman. Like, he's like
That's not a hard. That's not a hard sell.
no.
I don't think so. Let's revamp that analogy. Maybe sell hair to like a
That's an
monkey.
easy sell. Yeah. Tenny-san could
Well,
sell
if
hair
somebody's
to
not
a bald
trying to
woman.
sell, wait,
He can sell. Next question.
So,
No, I want to
So,
say though, seriously, Zawaz is the person who brings out
Hey.
everything in me. He makes me realize like where I am, how I'm functioning. Everything comes out. He brings it out, and it's like I don't know. I can't. I'm not gonna make
Zawaz
an
will do it to
analogy
you.
like you did because I might mess it up too.
Don't mind
But
how
he
he's
does.
sitting there all
He
quiet.
does. Yeah. So it's like a balance. Everybody's like.
yeah.
Yeah.
there's a good question here from another viewer by the name of Kenny Bashu. And the question is, who would you say? This is a question you guys are all going to have to agree on. Who would you all say has changed the most? Dun dun dun.
The most?
The most.
I'm torn between y'all three. I think.
Zawaz is over there looking like
I know who I would choose.
I know he's like something.
I know who I would choose.
I can say.
From
I don't know if everybody else agrees. But
yeah.
We'll say. You guys
Someone
can say
has to
it.
start. Yeah.
Ishkara.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lie. Yeah,
No, for real.
it's kind
I don't know,
of
just see you evolve a lot,
never
yeah.
say that.
Go into it then.
No, really. I didn't. Really.
Why don't we all go?
Okay, just go one by one.
Thank you.
I think for me, Ishkara, I've just
Ishkara?
seen her evolve a lot over like, and like her confidence has grown a lot. And like hearing you speak even now about like certain concepts or even just like explaining things, I'm like, it's crazy to see. It's really good.
Ishkara.
Yeah,
To me,
Tutanen.
it's like, oh, I need to like step it up because, yeah.
Tutanen's gonna give. Here we go. Here's his political answer. What you guys just saw in terms of that hug probably has not happened in like 7 months.
Lies, hater.
You're seeing a lot of reconciliation
that's
happening in real time on camera.
That's crazy. I'm a
Sweden.
Exactly.
like I said, like what came to mind immediately was Easter, Huti Sanit and Zawaz. The question
Exactly.
was the most.
That was a Sweden answer. Yeah.
The most, though, that's a trick thing because like I've known you for a long time, so I've known like where you came in from and where you've gone. I've seen.
Only pick one, Tutanen.
I'm getting there.
Everyone has to feel good at the end of his answer.
We have a concept called through, and it's patience and tolerance, and this is a moment of practice. So you have Sadnif, obviously, like in regards to how you like came into like your confidence, because like you always had a wisdom and a depth about you. It's just a matter of just owning it and being confident in it. So why stepping into leadership has been huge for you, because you always had the drive and discipline, but now it's just like really owning it and like taking lead and taking accountability for those things, and you know. But I would say Ibtahuti though as an answer, because of where he started from. Like the level he had to elevate to, and even where he has to go with this name Heqwabti is quite a lot. Because you heard his story, like he didn't even know what this was. His wife was in this. He's like, oh, I have to see what's going on. And I'm like, oh, welcome to the party. You know, what's up, man? But now he's really like he's really owning it for himself. Because people will come into this for like their partners and not really own it for themselves. It's like, oh, my wife got me this, my husband got me into this. But now he's really taking initiative in his own life with the initiation. So yeah.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Should I really say what I'm about to say?
Let's get to the next one.
I would I would say Heqwabti too. Just watching you, like how you like stepped up. Oh, don't blush. Don't get red. How you like stepped up.
Terry shot just off camera said, it's true.
You have her voice down.
I've had a lot of practice.
No, just seeing where you started and how you like leveled up, stepped up, you know, around the temple, in your personal life. Like you're a father now. It's just like did like almost a 180, maybe like 160. But yeah, you're getting there. But
So do you guys remember when the Mahekors did this and we said that initiation can also cure your racism? So we can take everything that you just listed for Heqwabti and add it to curing your racism.
Who said that I was racist?
No one. You just did. No one. We were just saying in general all of the things that initiation can cure in your life, because you were rattling off all these accomplishments and then you were like, who said I was racist?
Oh my God. Okay. I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Pass the mic.
It's impossible for a black person to be racist.
That's, in your case, that's not true.
It's an evil world we live
I
in.
was gonna say the person who I saw change the most was Satni. Because like I remember in the beginning of initiation, I mean I can't say like you were like a completely different person in the beginning, but I feel like you have just like you've become like so much in your role as just that person who we could see as like the wise one. No, seriously. I guess I can only speak for myself because I picked you. But that's what, like, if I really like need some advice or like somebody to like listen to me, I always choose you. And in the beginning, I feel like you were so quiet. Like you didn't really talk much. That changed a lot. That sure changed. But also like how you're now like taking on the initiation, like beyond graduating from Per Unc, you're like so involved in the work, and people see you as like a leader that, you know, they could depend on. You're responsible, you're reliable, and yeah, I feel like you really leveled up a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it brief, but also Satneeth is my answer as well.
You was gonna choose yourself.
No. M-E. Don't get it twisted. No, I'm him. No, I think No, I agree. I think Satneeth, I think you always had it. Like you even just like, even with your experience, I think you came into the initiation with an ethic intact already. But I think that the initiation kind of like solidified that for you, and right, like you were saying, like gave you that confidence that you need, and you kind of like, you're the type now, like I feel like you don't even like talk about it, you just are it, and like that is something to look up to. Like people that talk about it usually aren't about it, so it's like I appreciate that about you.
Wow, you guys.
Maybe.
You guys are gonna make me cut some onions back here. Sadni and then Zawaz.
Oh,
It's your turn.
yeah, it's just knowing where Heqwabti came from. and then
And
seeing
you guys
him have
make you
his
do
baby.
sound like he was like a
No, it's
homeless,
just
like
that-
drug addict.
I mean, he was on it.
Okay.
I had to tell him, like, you know, taking care of his family, and it's always amazing when you know, see a couple become a family. So him having the baby, and you know, just his patience with all of that, because he has to be patient. Yeah, but I think that each of us have grown in our own ways. You know, it's just that, you know, he was just at it, and I was just like surprised, because I know where he came from. I know the things that he went through, and now he's just like, you know,
He made it. Just
Cardboard box to the temple.
Cardboard boxes and heroin. Like, guys, I like to all the viewers. We just want to say, like, you know, initiation can do a lot for you, but we don't work miracles. So if you are addicted to heroin and you are living on the streets, like the way they're trying to make it seem like Heqwabti was, there's no guarantees. You need to call Encosta for that one. Shout out to Encosta. Can you show him the shirt real fast, Tutana?
A&H Life, Constant Natural Healing.
Shout out to Encosta Natural Healing.
All about that green and white.
And then we saved the best for last. Zawaz. Who gets your vote as changing the most?
It's gonna be like nobody.
Well, honestly, from the perspective I have in terms of being in the position that I have, I've honestly seen everybody in this generation really evolve and change. But the most change that I could say from my perspective has been Heqwabti as well, because I've just seen him struggle through quite a lot. And I think it says a lot to his name, Heqwabti, and what kind of destiny he has to fulfill. And, you know, I do wish him the best in terms of figuring that out. But it does seem like ever since he's come to initiation, it's just been a different fire that I've been able to see in such a short time. And like the actual real drive of wanting to figuring that out. So I'll definitely say Heqwabti.
We had a vote in the chat from one of the viewers, and the vote was that it came from Naba Irita. Shout out to Naba Irita. Wait a second, guys. The vote was for Satneet's hairstyle. So, before you guys celebrate, it was none of you. Not even Satneet. Her hairstyle. So we have a question here, and the question is, and this is for anybody that has been on one of the trips that we organize. And that question is from Sensational Touch, or Sensational Touch.
Okay. I know who that is.
And I know who it is. I just wasn't gonna do that, but Medicata is saying that's Kamishita. I know that's Kamishita. Shout out to Kamishita. Sensational Touch. And the question is, what is the importance of pilgrimage, and what is one of the most profound lessons you've gained from it? I really want to hear from Satneet.
Well, pilgrimage is like one of the most important things that you can do as an initiate, because this is where you get to visit where the initiation comes from, at least like a aspect, a part of where it comes from, and to see like how things really function, and how, you know, how short we are coming here. I mean, in this society we think that we see, I mean, it just depends on how you're looking at things. Worldly people would see like this is like the place to be, but when you get to meditate, specifically, I was able to visit Head Eye Shot and get some work done, and it just shows you a lot about how we function, how complicated life is here and there. It's not easy. It's most definitely not easy, but it's not complicated. The way your body functions. I mean, for some of us, because we all have our places that we come from. But for me, the way my body functions and the works, you get to see the works being done, and knowing, because I'm still learning. I can't say that I know it all, but I know that the works that you benefit from, it's like we here in the West, we have like I'm thick. I'm very thick. I gotta. It's like a tug of war.
When you say
fighting
thick,
for your spirit, you gotta fight.
That's not what she
for
meant.
it.
Oh.
So the works that come out of the works that you get done, and I mean it's just surreal. It's like it's surreal. I don't know. I can't even, words can't even really explain it. My experience was just amazing. I didn't want to leave. I cried when it was time to go. It's just it was an amazing experience,
Yeah, I would say as an initiate, going on a pilgrimage is very important because you get to experience firsthand everything you're learning in the initiation. Like you go there, you set foot on the soil, and you set foot in a village where you see people still practicing the harmonization, the natural culture, the traditions that you talk about and you learn about in initiation, and it becomes real for you. And it becomes real not just to your mind and your consciousness, but also to your body. It's like a wake-up call because you experience nature in the real sense of the word, and that is like the goodness of nature, the violent character of nature, and your body has to make that adjustment quick, fast. And
Ants.
yeah, and just like a lot of the things that you consider to be comforts here in the West, when you go there, it's really like setbacks. They're not comforts. It's like a setback that you realize that it has caused you to degenerate and to just like
Air
live.
conditioning.
Yeah, just live life in this like fishbowl, like this bubble of like it's not real life, and you get a wake-up call. And so that's one aspect, seeing the people operate according to the traditions and the culture of ancient, and when I say ancient, I don't mean like long gone. I mean like things that have been practiced for years and that are still practiced. You see people practicing them real time, like following the sunrise and the sunset, like having the spiritual principles, following those according to the time of the day. Taking baths in a certain type of way, just all these things that were lost, it comes back to you and it becomes real. So that's one. And then two, for the earth to even be able to recognize you setting foot on that soil and you being able to give your energies to that part of the world, that in and of itself is also life-changing. Even if you go there and don't do no works, like your life will be changed, your perspective will be changed, and you'll just grow, you'll evolve from that. So I think it's very, very important.
This is not the life, that's the life, that's living.
Yeah, if you saw Gate of Gates episode 12. The
Shout out
infamous
to that.
episode 12.
Shout
and
out to that specific
and you felt some
episode.
type of way about it. The thing is the reason that like Tutipsa was so adamant about what he was saying, the reason that he had so much coming with him during that episode, among other things, because there are many reasons why he came that way, but it's really like people have a fundamental misunderstanding when it comes to like going back to the motherland specifically. Like a lot of these other initiations that he was talking about that really don't have any like validity or don't have any weight, a lot of those initiations, they'll go to what we know as Egypt, or what they knew as ancient Egypt. But really, yes, the pyramids, all of that is like very beautiful, but really like people don't even really have an understanding of what that is. And really it's like that culture or that land is a place that is colonized. It's been colonized. Like that culture isn't really there anymore. Like the reason that Tutipsa was so adamant about what he's saying is because this initiation comes down from a bloodline. It was passed down from generation to generation to generation, and it was preserved in traditional African culture. So really when we go on pilgrimage, that's what we're going back to pay reverence to at the end of the day, because we have an understanding that it's not there anymore. It's not in Egypt anymore. That place is colonized now. It lives in these places where you could go there and you could see it, and it may just look like, with our first world perspective, it may look very, rural, or, there's nothing really here. But really, there's a knowledge that's protected there. Like, if any of us, in reality, like, tried to live in real nature, like, with what we come with, like, we have to go to a supermarket to get our food. We have to go here to get this. We have to go there to get that. We rely on so much in our society, like, we wouldn't last a minute in real nature. So really, to go back to that and to pay reverence to that and to have an understanding of that, it's crucial.
Yeah, I think the pilgrimage for me, it showed me like how much I'm disconnected from my own roots and my own culture, and how much I don't understand what my ancestors actually did or how they lived. And I might have thought I understood it by going through Per Unk and like learning the concepts, but like you guys have already said, in Merita, that's when like the concepts come alive, right? And you learn like fitting into nature is not only about just being outside. Like fitting into nature is also about like how you function and how you behave and how you carry yourself, and having a certain amount of respect for people, and having a certain amount of respect for things that you can't even see, and as well as your ancestors. Like you're there to represent your ancestors, right? And that's apparent in every person and how they move and how they function. So I think also you're tested physically, like they've said, like you have to do everything the manual way, right? And that's hard, right? And
like no washing machines, no dishwasher,
no stove.
No stove. All right, you gotta what? No shower, buckets.
No
well,
butcher.
No bathroom.
You do shower. For
No,
the
we
record.
shower.
Yeah,
but we get buckets and water. You know what I mean?
And you wear underwear, right, Sadneve?
We most
You didn't have to go
definitely
there. You didn't have
we wear underwear. These, not the regular kind. These are underwear for everybody who don't know.
Oh my God.
I mean, I didn't know.
No, one of our viewers wanted to make sure we didn't forget the dress code in Merita. Shout out to Nabi Irita.
These are underwear.
You're there, right? And you feel like a freaking fool because you see how these people function and how they carry themselves. And me personally, I was really watching like the women there and how strong they are. They're carrying logs on their heads, and there's babies 5 years old working and doing stuff, and I'm out of breath. And I'm like, damn, like I'm so, yeah, you know, like you just feel like I have lost so much, and it's like the rug gets pulled from under you, and you realize the illusion you've been living in all your life, and then you're like, damn, like it's gonna be so hard for me to catch up at this point. But then it's like, okay, now you have the motivation to actually catch up because you see that it's still going and it's not lost, and you have the opportunity to actually connect with it again.
I think for me, it was a really amazing experience. This is something Tutipsa said before, but you can't even really quantify the effect that it will have on you. And it's one thing to like learn in Parank about like spiritual work and different things about, you know, Medita and the culture, but to be able to go there and see it in person and experience it firsthand is like a whole nother thing. I feel like I definitely came back a changed person. I think everybody did, though, honestly. I saw a lot of change in everybody, so.
Is there another question?
Well, you know what? I have a short story. Yeah, just to go off what you guys were saying. I remember when we were in Medita, I had like a little knife, like a tool. You know, I was just like using to cut fruit and lemons and stuff like that for like a lot of the Westerners. And like I kind of, you know, and people were kind of relying on me for this knife, and I was like the guy with the knife for the Westerners, you know, and in a weird way I had a little like ego about it, like
You had a knife?
like I'm the man with the knife, like no, because like I can go and I can get the.
That was your thing.
Yeah,
The
I
limes,
can
it
go
was
and
the
get the
limes.
limes for everybody, and everyone was, you know what I mean. So I felt like needed. But the more that I was in Medita, the more I was humbled, because I realized, like, to the Westerners, I was the man with the knife, but to the people in Medita, like, I was like a boy with a toy. You know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, it's like, do I really know how to use that? Do I know how to skin a chicken? Do I know how to like, you know, use it properly to like actually like take care of my family, like if I needed to, like in nature? And the answer was no at that point. And that's something like slowly that I'm learning right now, but it's just kind of interesting, the cultural differences.
Was it Saibu that let you know that you were?
It was more like the side eye.
They just were like looking at you, shaking their head like.
But you know, it's funny because like they call all of us Anasara, which is, you know what I mean? So it's like we're all kind of like foreigners to them at the end of the day. Like white, black, like whatever. It's like,
You have to explain what that means.
I mean, it's just like foreigner, right?
Yeah, just like foreigner.
Yeah, it's
We
like
don't have to give the exact translation right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll leave it at that. But it's like we're all to them, we're all like disabled in a way, like retarded. So.
I mean, we are.
We are.
Yeah,
But it's
fair.
a good thing. It's a good thing to go there and realize that, to learn from that, to like, you know, try to like get yourself out of the hole that you've been dug yourself into your whole life.
I mean, even how the kids don't need.
You gotta talk into the mic.
Even how the children don't really need supervision, like that much supervision. They have their own little group, and they have disagreements, and they handle disagreements among themselves, and adults don't get involved, and they're pretty mature, and they know what's going on too. Like, you know, it's very impressive.
So Naberita gave us a translation in the chat, and it. I wasn't trying to say it on air, but shout out to Naba. He said, "Those hated by the great god Ra."
Ooh.
So,
I was trying to be nice.
yeah, not to say that, you know, we're hated by the great god Ra. Just kind of the modern kind of connotation is hated, not hated, like foreigner. So let's see here. We have let's use this question to kind of take us on out of here, because I know the Heqwabtis are just, you know, loving the reunion, but it's, I don't know as much as if they're enjoying it as much as it was.
How many viewers do we have?
Did you say how many viewers do we have? Why don't you just focus on answering questions?
Oh my God.
Okay, so this question, there's a few questions here, but we'll just kind of we'll go with this one to take us out. And it's, what has made initiation worth the time, money, and sacrifice? And what have been the biggest sacrifices made to reach the threshold?
That's a good question.
The second part.
That second part, the threshold.
Okay, so we'll just start with the beginning. What
Yeah.
I don't get to see who submitted the question, but by the way, these questions are from the younger initiates, from the generations that are the initiates that are currently in Paronk. So they get the opportunity to ask anonymous questions to the elder initiates without fear of getting shot down. So they get to ask any question, whatever they would like to ask, and we're asking it on air. So this is the question we're going to end with, and the question is, what has made initiation worth the time, money, and sacrifice?
That's a great question. One thing that you learn in initiation is that this is an uphill journey, which means that suffering is inevitable if you want to change or grow or evolve in your life. So that's a part of this process. It's not sweet. You have to work for it, and you got to suffer for it and through it as well. For me, I would answer, as I look at my life, what I've done previously, what I've tried to do previously, whether it be in business or relationship or whatever, knowledge, spirituality, it all kind of becomes almost meaningless when I weigh up against what I'm getting here. And when I think about even leaving this at some point, what would I go back to? There's not much out there. The more that I examine that. So with that in consideration, with that analysis, I just say, well, this is the one thing that's mattered the most to me in my life, and it has the substance that I've been looking for. And it's practical. It has family values. Looking at, okay, what do I have? My father, my mother, having children, honoring my grandparents, honoring those who came before me. Very practical. But going back to nature, understanding nature, the elements, what's really being communicated through nature. Back to myself. Who am I? What is my identity? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Like all these simple things that are everything. So it's like, for me, that's what we're fighting for. That's what we're suffering through. Because at least I'm getting what's important and what's most valuable. Even if the system doesn't value it, I know that this is what my spirit values, what's needed. And then the last thing I would say is that this is really for the next generation. Because although, we're all fighting for ourselves and fighting to become who we want to become, who we need to become, ultimately the next generation has the best chance to really rise to to a higher level. Because they're going to come into this with a fresh start. I came into this like 28, 29 years old, being in America for all those years and being so corrupted and so, filled with all these dreams and illusions and things. So it's hard to start over. But at least they'll have a chance. So now all of us, it's our fight to pass it to the next generation, and hopefully they'll have a better chance than we did. But to me, that makes it worth it, ultimately. Yeah.
Anybody else want to chime in?
To me, it's every individual in the initiation. Every individual is like, everybody plays their role. And because we all made the vow to go on this path and the goal that we have in front of us, it's like, it's like family. And the fact that, we can be in this together, the ups and the downs, holding each other accountable, letting me know. Because people in the world will they'll let you fail. They'll let you, walk sideways. They don't really care. You know, they have ulterior motives, but we all know that the motive behind every individual is themselves and like working on themselves and being a mirror to each other to, you know, help them build, because we can't build our qualities without each other. So to me, it's like important. Every individual that's what makes it so, every individual so important, is because I don't know who I am without seeing it through the next person. So to me, that's what makes it so important.
I think before this initiation, and I also think just generally in our
That
culture.
was not me, by the way. If you were able to hear that fart on air, that was one of the babies right here next to me.
It's our sound effects.
Yeah.
I think like the way that our society measures wealth, the way that it measures, you know, how wealthy a person is, or it's based on material. It's based on like how much money somebody has, or how many cars they have, or you know what they're doing, or how many yachts they have, whatever that may be. Like, and that's really like the way we measure wealth in the West. But really, like throughout the initiation, like what you learn in the culture is that wealth is really like based on like your children. It's really measured by like your family. What was the question again? I'm like,
The question was, I know you guys got so somber and serious. And
I'm
then
like, wait.
I'm like, do you, any of you guys remember what the question was?
Yeah.
And the question was, what has made initiation worth the time, money, and sacrifice?
yeah. So like what Tutanen was saying, like, you know, coming into this initiation, or you know, before this initiation, coming with like all the aspirations and just all these different things that we come with, wanting to be certain things based on like the standards that our society has for us, or the standards we want to reach, or whatever it may be. It's kind of like a facade in a way, and it's like when you come into initiation, although the goal is very, you know, it's very big, you're not working on it alone. You're not an individual in this. Like you're trying to reach this goal with a lot of people who come from a lot of different walks of life. So I think that's it for me personally.
I think the initiation in itself, it teaches you something that a lot of society isn't aware of, and that's to learn how to actually honor and elevate your ancestors. And before that, I always felt like something was missing in my life, right? And once I got here, once I started figuring out like, okay, this was the missing piece, like I need to learn more about my ancestry. I need to learn more about how they lived, how they thought, how they functioned, because obviously what I'm doing now isn't working. And that education is what makes the money worth spending, and what makes the time and sacrifices and all of that worth it, because without it, then you're just stuck in a loop of a system that's obviously not leading to anything good. So beyond honoring your ancestors, it's also about like passing new traditions forward, like Tutanen was mentioning, like for the next generation, and having that as like a long-term goal, because obviously the world is not going to change with just me. So just understanding that if it starts here, I don't want it to end here, and I have to invest my time, my money, you know, my energy into this in order to make sure that I'm able to transmit it properly so that it can continue.
Okay. Yeah, I think in the life of every human being, there is like purposefully like a piece of something missing that makes you want to start on this journey to like search for that missing piece. And for me, it's so many things worth it about initiation. I'm like a life learner, like definitely a student. I love to learn.
Clearly, because you're a god.
I'm not gonna live this down, am I?
Never.
And it's recorded.
I
You
just
were
want
like,
to
I wanted to be omnipotent across all times and space.
Anyway. So, you're making me lose my train of thought.
Sorry.
So,
You're a god. How could we
yes.
interrupt you?
I love learning and, okay, being in this initiation and all the sacrifices made has taught me so much just being here. I mean, just filling in a lot of the missing pieces, the blanks about who I am, my ancestors, where we came from, what we did, how to honor them, what came with us, how to honor those energies and things that helped us survive. Just learning that is just so phenomenal for me. To be able to reconnect with that is like reconnecting with the essence of who I am. And I'm continuously like filling in that gap, like learning and learning and learning. And then another thing too is feeling like I'm a part of like an organization that's like illuminating the world is like really, really important to me. Just knowing that
It's a cult.
it's a cult. I'm changing myself and seeing that metamorphosis, and then in the process of doing that, I'm a part of other people that are changing themselves, and then we're going out there and taking what we learn and like trying to help others do the same thing. That's very important to me for being a part of any type of like organization. I just love that aspect of illumination and being able to help people in that way. And then of course the connection that I make with the physical people here and like learning about them, learning their energies, their history, and seeing how everything comes together for like a great mission, to push forward like a great mission. I think that makes it all worth it, because at the end of the day, I was spending my time doing a lot of things, like busy work, things that you might think is productive and stuff like that. But then what was the end goal of it all? You know, this is something that I know is going to change humanity for the better and bring us all on the same page, like bring us all as one, which is what we all want pretty much in the world, whether we want to admit it or not. So, yeah, that's what makes it worth it for me.
There was a second part, right?
There was what was the second part?
Yeah, the second part was what has been the biggest sacrifice to make you reach the threshold? I don't know what the threshold
Yeah, what's the
is.
threshold?
Like graduation?
I don't know.
I just had to get over my emotions. Like, there was a lot of mental blockages, like, in terms of a lot of the concepts.
Have you transcended past your emotions?
I have not transcended past certain emotions, but I have learned how to manage them and keep them tucked away for the right moments.
Tucked away.
But just I think that was the biggest sacrifice. Just like learning, accepting, like seeing who you are, and being able to sacrifice the beliefs that you have, like, and you've kind of identified myself with, to let those things go and take on like traditional concepts that were studied and proven by my ancestors. That was the biggest sacrifice for me.
I think for me, the biggest sacrifice is like the concept of knowing, or like thinking that I know. I think like in our society, or I'll even just talk about myself. I think that like what I came with before was that I knew everything, that I, knew that I had an understanding of everything, and I had an opinion about it, and my opinion was right, or my opinion was just. The thing is, in the society that we come from, there's like a certain opinion where if you hold that opinion, like it can be justified by the government or the political agenda that's in power. So then you have that opinion, and then you feel like validated by it, and you think that that opinion is like the one and only ruling supremacy in the entire world, and you feel good about it because you're validated by it, and you're told that you're correct, and you're given like a little pat on the back by society. But I think that really knowing that I don't know, I think that has been like the biggest sacrifice for me, or knowing, maybe I don't know this thing, or maybe I don't know that, maybe I do need like a correction, and like it is okay, because a lot of like what I notice is that like a lot of people in our society are like kind of soft, like where like you'll come to them with like a criticism of any kind, and like they'll just become like meek, or like, just like cower, or, and fold, because they're always told by society that they're right. You're right, you're good, you're right, you're justified. Here's a pat on the back, here's a kiss on the forehead. Your feelings are good, like all of that. But then somebody comes to you and is like, no, it's not right. And then you're like, oh my God, like, how could that be? Like, I felt this way my whole life. So I think at the end of the day, that's like a really profound thing, because I don't think you can grow without that, without the concept of really knowing that you may not know.
Your hair has got thicker.
Duo.
Did anybody else want to weigh in, or?
Yeah. I'll just say that the biggest benefit, or the thing that's like really kept me in initiation, has been like just evolving as a person, and seeing where, like looking back on like where I came from, and just evolving that way, becoming a mother, and also like starting to really find out what my actual purpose is in this lifetime. Like, I think that's kind of like one reason we all really came into initiation in a way, is like, what are we doing? What's really going on? So finding like, your true purpose and your destiny. Yeah. I think also, so for the second part of the question, probably like the biggest sacrifice has been, everybody kind of like said it already, but just really letting go of like the old me and preconceived notions I had about everything. I used to also be somebody who was like, oh, I know a lot about spirituality, or I came from like very interesting new age space, and in that arena, it's a lot of people who, claim to know a lot of things, or just have the knowledge when they don't. And so it was really just having, I think a big sacrifice was just really have to humbling myself to the initiation, and kind of just starting from square one about what it is to like be a human being. So.
Just to add on, for me, I would say, like all of that y'all said for sure, and also the idea that life is supposed to be comfortable or easy. Like I was big on like, oh, it's about the path of least resistance. You know, things should be flowing effortlessly, and you know, if you're having obstacles, you're doing the wrong thing. You know, and that whole mindset, which is kind of fatalistic. You're kind of like relying on things to just work out somehow. And this is like almost embracing the discomfort and imposing it on myself, so that way I can actually grow in some way. It's like working out. Like it's very uncomfortable to like lift weights every day, or whenever you do it. It's strenuous. You know, it takes effort, but that's how you get the muscle. So it's the same in this with spirituality, with culture, with initiation. It puts me in a position to constantly have to deal with things I don't want to deal with my own BS, deal with my deficiencies, and fight through it. And if I don't do it, life will do it to me. So it's better I fight instead of having to become a victim to that. So I would say, yeah, just embracing discomfort, which means sacrificing the idea of easy living and pleasure and bliss and all that stuff that's very prevalent right now in modern spirituality or modern New Ageism.
And you know, we have the doors of initiation opening up in many of our locations. The doors of initiation are open right now in New Jersey, so if you're local to the New Jersey temple, you are more than welcome to come in and start the initiation. The open enrollment period is open for a few more weeks. The open enrollment period is the period where you're able to come in and take classes, and then if you choose not to go past the open enrollment period, which is the first month of initiation, then there's no financial obligation. So which means like you won't get charged for the first month if you don't go past the first month. But if you choose to go past the first month, then the financial obligation is there. The doors of initiation are opening in the online temple. That should be happening this weekend. So for those of you that are not closed, that should be happening this month. I don't know the exact dates for all of the temples off the top of my head, but the doors of initiation are opening globally in all of our temples. So you can just give them a call, find out when the classes are happening, so that you can go in and observe. Go ahead.
There's a new one in San Francisco. We have a temple.
Yeah, we have a temple. We have a temple in Oakland that's going to be opening, yeah. But that's going to be sometime this year. Okay. So for even if you're not close to a temple and then you would like to join the initiation, but you're not close to a physical temple just yet, there will be a temple in Oakland that opens up, and with that being said, we appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we hope you guys continue to tune in. Also, damn, I forgot what I was going to say. There's something I was going to touch on in particular before we faded out of here. Oh yes, I remember now. What I took from Ishkata's answer was that Ishkata is a fan of Jehovah's Witnesses. What? Because she was saying that she likes people going out and spreading the knowledge, oh my God, place to place. So not only was she wanting to be a god, but she also wanted to be a Jehovah's Witness. We thank you for tuning in to the Giddy Gates podcast. Yeah. Shout out to the Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, it couldn't get more serious than Zawaz's smoldering intensity over there. But shout out to all our viewers. Please continue to tune in. We have another episode of the Giddy Gates podcast coming to you guys on Friday, so please continue to tune in. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in and for listening and for all of the things. And with that being said, please like, comment, subscribe, and do all of those wonderful things that you normally do when you're online.
Shout out to our sponsor, Sauce Hot Sauce.
Yes.
Sauce.
Hot sauce.
Spicy.
Sauce. Artisanal hot sauce. And with that being said, there's so many ways you can get involved. There's so many ways you can find out more things about, the work and what we do, and Kepta as a mission, and Kepta as a whole as an organization. And for those of you that were wondering, yes, there is going to be a pilgrimage this year. And please email travel@theearthcenter.org to find out more about the pilgrimage that's occurring this year. That's going to be in January. So please make sure to email them now to find out the details. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Giddy Gates podcast. And with that being said, idiot-oo. See you guys next time.
Yeah.